We present HiFECap, a novel approach for expressive monocular 3D human performance capture. Monocular and expressive performance capture is a very challenging problem for multiple reasons. First, the depth is inherently ambiguous. Second, recordings of humans usually show a significant amount of self-occlusions. Most importantly, jointly capturing all aspects of the human, that are skeleton poses, cloth deformations, hand gestures, and facial expressions, is a very complex task. Existing approaches usually fall short in either one or more of these aspects. Some are able to check the clothing deformations and skeleton poses, but not the hands and face, while others are able to capture body poses, hands and face, but lack the checking of clothing. Our method requires multi-view images for training, along with the 3D template of the target actor. To get the template mesh, we scan the actor in a multi-view stereo scanner and reconstruct the 3D mesh with around 5,000 vertices. We rig the scanned mesh to a kinematic skeleton being parameterized with the root rotation, the global translation, and the joint angles. We also attach 3D landmarks for body joints and face to the skeleton. We automatically compute the skinning weights in Blender and leverage dual coordinate skinning to deform the mesh based on the skeleton pose. We then assign a rigidity weight to each vertex to account for the different deformation property of varying materials. For example, vertices on the skin have higher rigidity weights, while those on the dress have lower rigidity weights. We further define a downsampled version of the mesh as the underlying embedded graph to model deformations. The embedded graph is parameterized with local graph rotations and translations. To capture finer high-frequency geometric details of non-rigid deformations, such as wrinkles on clothing, we use a 3D vertex displacement map. We assign a displacement vector to each mesh vertex. At test time, given only a single monocular RGB video as input, HiFECap jointly captures the human body poses, dense 3D human meshes with high-frequency surface details, hand gestures, and facial expressions. Our HiFECap approach takes a single segmented image and the 3D template of the target actor as input, and checks the corresponding 3D human mesh. First, we train PoseNet to estimate the 3D skeleton poses as joint angles and a global rotation using 2D key points. It is followed by deformation regression networks in a coarse-to-fine manner. We first employ an embedded deformation network, eDefNet, to capture the coarse surface deformations. It captures coarse skin and clothing details by predicting the deformation parameters on the embedded graph. For capturing finer surface details, we propose a novel hybrid image-to-graph convolutional architecture, DisplaceNet, for predicting per-vertex displacements, which greatly improves the dynamic surface details. In the DisplaceNet, we first use a UNet-based image encoder to extract relevant information about the surface deformation, such as wrinkles from the input image. If a vertex on the mesh is visible from the input view, we then assign the corresponding projected image feature to it. For occluded vertices, we assign the average feature. So each vertex will be assigned a feature which forms the graph. Once each vertex has an image feature, we employ a graph convolutional neural network taking per vertex features as input and outputting the vertex displacement field. Nearly rigid human body parts, such as skin and shoes, should only be coarsely deformed. Thus, we create a mask to filter the vertex displacement field based on the rigidity, and then apply the resulting displacements to refine the reconstruction results. Both eDefNet and DisplaceNet are trained based on silhouette, rendering, and chamfer losses. We then replace the corresponding template parts with parametric hand and face models. The original 3D template mesh in the riggering pose can differ in terms of its local rigid rotation with respect to the face and hand models. For better optimization for the personalized face model and hand stitching, we unpose the original 3D template to the canonical pose using dual quaternion skinning. To achieve the personalized face model, we fit the face model to the original template in the canonical pose. First, we optimize the affine transform between the face model and the template by optimizing the affine parameters, including rotation, translation, and scaling. To optimize the affine parameters, we manually mark 8 facial landmarks on the scanned template mesh and the face model respectively, and minimize the difference between the two sets of facial landmarks in the least square sense. We deform the face model to match the template geometry by optimizing the shape parameters and expression parameters. To this end, we minimize the chamfer distance between the face model and the template mesh, as well as the distance between the two sets of markers. Finally, we directly optimize the positions of the face model vertices by minimizing the chamfer distance to produce the updated face model positions. We then attach the parametric face and hand models to the body model and use an automated gap filling method in Blender in the canonical space. In the end, we repose the template to get the updated template mesh in the riggering pose. The skinning weights of the closest template vertices are copied to the hand and face model vertices. Given the input image, a dedicated network then predicts the parameters for face and hand models. Combined with the posed and deformed human body, we get the final reconstruction result. The 3D shape regressed by our method not only accurately reproject to the input images, but they also look realistic and plausible from novel views. HiFECap supports different clothing styles, motions, facial expressions, and hand poses. Our method can capture facial expressions, hand gestures, and also high-frequency details such as deforming wrinkles on the clothes. Previous template-based methods such as HiFECap cannot dynamically capture facial expressions and hand poses, and cannot capture dynamic wrinkles accurately. Also note that the details on the surface are much more accurate compared to HiFECap due to our vertex displacement network and the improved supervision strategy. Other approaches that are based on a parametric body model can recover the skeleton poses, hand gestures, and facial expressions. However, they do not consider the deformations of clothing at all, but instead only predict a naked human body shape. We next compare our method to a baseline that does not use dense per vertex displacement. Note how our dense displacement term recovers much richer surface details compared to the ablated version. For example, the moving wrinkles of the clothing. Furthermore, we compare our proposed combined image and graph convolutional architecture with a purely image convolutional architecture. Note that our design enables the highest accuracy and the best visual appearance qualitatively. Finally, we ablate the individual loss terms. We observe that the combination of all terms leads to the fast reconstructions, confirming our design choices. In summary, our method improves the state-of-the-art in several ways. First, we achieve a much higher geometric accuracy on the dense and deforming 3D human surface. Second, our approach is a clear step towards a more expressive and complete capture of all aspects of the human, including skeleton pose, clothing, hands, and face. Thank you for your attention.